Howdy, my name's Yojimbo Blade, and today, well, should I say, a week ago, Zenless announced the selectors, the agent selectors, where you can pick any agent that you want. But there's one selector that I've heard nobody talk about, and it's probably more important than the others that you could talk about. It's the A rank selector. If we go to HoYoLab, do they say it there? They probably do. Do they say it here? They should. Wow, they just don't say it. That's kind of weird. A couple weeks ago, they announced the A rank selector, but if you go to look this up, you really won't find anything about it. For some reason, nobody's just bothering to mention it. I guess they don't think it's important, but I do, because if you're a relatively new player, this is one of the most important things you could possibly do if you're just starting out. Which of these A ranks should you get on the A rank selector? Now, before that, I know people have been asking me, here's who you can get from the free selector. It's these 5 characters. None of them are very good, so it doesn't matter who you pick. Pick whoever you want. Lucia is probably the best, but she is the best for specifically 5 agents that are all of the Rupture category. And if you don't have any Rupture agent, Lucia is not worth getting. And that's about it. Like, which of these are better? You already have a better DPS if you're playing the game. It's called Pyroas. Pyroas is better than both of them. So again, your choice, pick whichever you want. It does not matter. And then there's the paid selector. The paid selector, Jane, is also a part of this. Last time it was $155. None of these characters are worth $155. If you want to get one, again, get whoever you want. Outside of Seed in her best team, which is Cecilia, none of these characters are worth $155. If you're going to get it, fine. Just make the decision that you want because you want to play them. And then we have the rerun selector. These characters are actually substantially better than the rest. Maybe not substantially better. Dialin's really good. Yuzo's really good. Harumasa, if you learn how to play him, is also really good. That's all I have to say about that. Anyway, back to what the actual topic of today's video is. The A rank selector. But first, a word from our sponsors. They say hi. If you would like to support this channel, subscribe and whatnot. If you want to become a sponsor, check the description below. Back to the video. I was going to do a method of like ranking each one. I didn't like how that discussion was boiling down, so I decided to just pivot to talk about each agent individually. Now, the reason the A rank selector is important is because whenever you're pulling for a limited agent, you're going to pick up some A ranks along the way. And sometimes those A ranks could be beneficial, and sometimes those A ranks don't really do anything for you. Based on what they said in the live stream, the game is no longer going to just offer you 2 A ranks. You are now going to have to pick the A ranks and their W engines. So instead, we're going to talk about what kinds of characters would you want to select on an agent selector. So for example, there's a character coming out. Her name is, I can find her. They have her picture here, barely. What's happened to her picture? I guess she's a wanted criminal. That's why we don't have her picture. Oh, this is very helpful, game. Why does anyone have her picture? We have the wanted criminal, Remiel. She's wanted, that's why no one has a good photo of her. If you're going to pull for Remiel, you're probably going to want more anomaly agents, which means you'd probably want to pick a character like Piper as one of your A ranks. But wait, what if you're pulling for Sigrid next? Well, Sigrid's a nice attacker. Piper doesn't really care about her. Sigrid doesn't really care about Piper, so who should you pick? Well, maybe you swap out Piper for Sokaku. Hey, she's an ice support. She'll buff up Sigrid. It's not a bad idea. This is why I think this is more important to talk about than the free selectors, because this is a one-time choice. Once you make this choice, you don't ever have to think about it again, outside of living with the regret that you chose Lucia because you got FOMO'd into pulling her in 2.8 and then they gave her out for free again, and now you're just really upset. But outside of these, it's like a one and done deal. You pick these characters once and you don't have to think about it. The A rank selector is when you're going to be thinking about every single patch, and especially if you're a new player, this is something that no one else is going to teach you. No one's going to sit down and instruct you of the ins and outs of all of these characters on a personal level. That's why, if you hear nothing else from me today, please go out and experiment with these characters for yourself. Learn and understand why some of these characters are good and bad on your own. You will become a much better player that way, period. The key word is knowledge and understanding. Knowing is half the battle. If you understand why some of these characters are good or bad, you will become an automatically better player. So let's go in order. Let's talk about Ambi real quick. And the way I'm going to talk about these characters is I'm going to go over them incredibly quickly, because I think what's more important to talk about is their mindscapes. The interesting thing about A ranks is that you can get multiple versions of them more easily, in theory. So their mindscapes are kind of more important to talk about. Ambi is a stun agent. She's not very good. Ambi's playstyle revolves around basics into EX, into dodge counters, into basics, but it's not good. Her dodge counter is bad and they always interrupt her basics. And her basics are also really slow and don't deal enough damage or daze. So overall, we're not starting off well, but hey, maybe her Mindscapes will do something to help. Mindscape 1 gives her more energy when she hits with the 4th hit of her basic attack. I don't know if this is actually her basic 4 or her basic Thunderfall, because they're labeled differently. Ambi is a very simple agent to play. The problem is her weakness is in her simplicity. She wants to do one very specific game plan, but she is not good enough at doing that game plan. So she kind of falls apart. Mindscape 2, your basic Thunderbolt, and this is why I'm not sure if this counts as her basic 4 or the 4th hit of any basic string. That's why I don't know if she actually gets this buff if you play her correctly. Basic attack Thunderbolt deals more damage while the enemy is stunned, but you kind of don't want to use Ambi after the enemy is already stunned because you'd rather use a real DPS. So that kind of doesn't do anything. And then when your EX hits an enemy who isn't stunned, the daze is buffed by 10%. That's not nothing, but you wish it was something. Mindscapes 3 and 5 are all damage and daze buffs. For Ambi, the daze is important, but it's not important enough because she doesn't do enough daze. Like, her daze multipliers are lower than Nicole's. Now, because she's a stun agent, her impact is higher, so there's that multiplier that she gets that Nicole won't. It's just unfortunate that her daze, for being an on-field stunner, you wish her daze was higher, and it's just not. Mindscape 4, when you use a chain attack or an ultimate, off-field electric agents recover 3 energy. This does not matter for any of your teams. There is not a single electric agent who looks at this Mindscape and says, oh man, that's exactly what I needed. 9 energy. This does not help. Most of these characters have a Mindscape 6 that turn them into a DPS if they aren't one. Ambi's not a DPS, so her Mindscape 6 says, after using EX, your basics deal more damage. Oh, okay. That's not good enough, sorry. So the problem with Ambi is Ambi does not deal enough damage or daze, and her playstyle is so susceptible to enemies literally doing anything. As soon as you dodge counter, you're kind of stuck going back into your basic 1 and basic 2, which do not deal electric damage, and then you'll be hit again by enemies because your dodge counter is very quick and does not have any ending invulnerability. So if you're a brand new player, Ambi is the first agent that you get, and you don't need more of her. Now, I've played DPS Ambi. That's not to say you can't play any of these characters. Just understand that this character is not really going to help most teams that you are pulling for now. When Sigrid is running, and you try to pull for Sigrid, Ambi is not going to help Sigrid in any meaningful way. Even if Sigrid were electric, Ambi would not help her in any meaningful way. Next is Nicole. Nicole's an ether support. She's really good. Why is she really good? She's really good because of this thing that right here. When she does any move, the target's defense is reduced by 40%. For 3.5 seconds. This is a pretty short time, but this buff lasts a lot longer with her EX, her chain attack, and ultimate, because when she shoots out her black holes, they keep hitting enemies. So that's really good. In fact, she's so good that most teams don't even care about her additional. I didn't talk about Ambi's additional and core because they don't matter. Nicole's actually do matter because she's actually good. She's so good, her additional doesn't matter. Mindscape 1 is more anomaly buildup on your EXs. At first glance, this is like kind of nothing. It's also more damage, but whatever. But when you actually play Nicole in anomaly teams, there are a couple hypercarry anomaly teams you can play, where you play one anomaly agent and then a stunner and a support, or 2 supports. In those teams, Nicole is actually kind of good, because not only are you still getting the defense reduction on enemies, you're also having more anomaly buildup if you want. That's kind of neat. Mindscape 2 also gives you more energy. When your core is triggered, it is incredibly easy to trigger Nicole's core. So this is actually really nice. It's convenient. This is her Mindscape 4. Mindscape 4 increases the diameter of her energy fields. That's what they call it here. You might see them as black holes. That's perfectly fine. This is really important. At first glance, you might think the diameter changes. Does that really do anything? The answer is yes, because that means you can group up mobs of enemies more easily. It also means that this move will hopefully not miss, in theory. Now, if you're just fighting one enemy, the diameter thing doesn't really matter that much. But when you're fighting mobs of enemies, like in Shiyu Defense, this is really useful for getting them all grouped together, so that way your Soldier 11 will not miss. The other problem with Ambi's attacks are really stubby. I'm not going to show them to you because I want you to play the character for yourself. I want you to figure this out on your own. By playing the character, you will experience why she is not very good. Go into the training room, turn on the robot mech guy, make it so he can't get stunned, or maybe you can make it so he's stunned, but make it so he doesn't take damage, and try to use Ambi. You will quickly understand why Ambi is not very good. Have him active so he's actually trying to hit you with stuff. And then Nicole's Mindscape 6 is a bunch of crit rate. What? Yeah. Nicole's Mindscape 6 just says, yeah, here's more crit rate for the team. It's technically for the team. The way it's worded is that all of Nicole's stuff is debuffs on enemies. So she's debuffing the enemy so that your crit rate is increased when you hit them. It's really weird. You can't see this in the stat screen, but the way people just talk about it is she gives you 15% crit rate, even though that's not literally what's happening. That's practically what's happening. This is why Nicole is one of the best A ranks in the game, period. In fact, one of the best agents in the game. Nicole just does a lot for not needing to do that much. Granted, her debuff time is pretty low, so as you play her, you will realize, oh, I need to switch her in more frequently if I want the uptime of her debuff to be more active. Next is Corrin. Corrin's a physical DPS. She's pretty good if you put her in the right team. Corrin is slow and her attacks have a pretty short range. If you don't have a team that can help her figure that stuff out, she will become much worse. But there are teams where you can figure that out and that doesn't become an issue. And in those teams, yeah, nothing wrong with her. Her core and her additional just say, I deal more damage. That's fine. I'm not going to teach you how to play all of these characters. I'm just going to go over what they do. Corrin's a DPS. She does damage. Mindscape 1, here's more damage on your chain attacks and ultimates. Mindscape 2, reduce the target's physical resistance by up to 10%. That's pretty good. It's also pretty good for dial-in teams and Suna teams because it makes those characters deal more damage than they would have otherwise. On these characters, Mindscape 3s and 5s are kind of important because they are DPSs, so Mindscapes that just increase their DPS are always pretty good. Mindscape 4 just gives her more energy. Nothing really much to talk about there. Mindscape 6, here's a bunch of damage. It's pretty good. You like damage? Well, here's a lot of it. Great, fantastic. We love it. Yeah, there's not much to talk about. Corrin's a DPS. She does DPS stuff. I want you to play the character for yourself and figure her out. If you love Corrin, you can definitely make a really good Corrin team and do really well. Billy! Billy's also another physical attacker, but he's a ranged character, and he's kind of weird to play. He has a weird gimmicks and quirks you have to work around. I'm not going to go into detail of how to play the character. I already made a guide for that. You want to be in this crouching shot thing, whatever that means. And then you have to like not move, but you can move, but it's weird. Anyway, let's get through his Mindscapes. Mindscape 1, more energy. Mindscape 2, more damage on your dodge counters. And you can do a rolling shots to trigger a perfect dodge. So dodges, EX buffed, and then damage buffed. Now, when people saw this kit, they said, oh, you know what? Billy's most important attack is his basic. His basic attack is the most important, despite the fact that his Mindscapes literally say dodge counter, dodge, like 3 different times. They're like, no. It's the basics that are important. No, the basics are not important. What Billy has over Corrin is that Billy is a ranged agent who can kind of do whatever he wants. Corrin is not a ranged agent. She's a physical agent with very short range. Billy has an easier time hitting multiple enemies. Corrin has a much harder time hitting multiple enemies. In their best teams, Corrin will outdamage Billy. In their worst teams, Billy will probably outdamage Corrin. Not because Billy is doing more damage, but because you are not creating the opportunities to allow Corrin to deal her best damage. Let's talk about Anton. Anton is an electric attacker. He does electric stuff. Anton is the prototype for a lot of characters who have special modes. If Anton were released now, he would have a special bar underneath his HP that he can go into. He does not have that. So as a 1.0 agent, instead he trades away having a real EX for putting him into an empowered state. It's an install super basically. It's called burst mode. While he's in burst mode, all his attacks deal a bajillion more damage, but it rapidly drains his energy and then he goes back to barely dealing any damage. So that's kind of the problem with Anton. Anton in burst mode is really good. Anton, when he's not in burst mode, is pretty bad. And so the difficulty is trying to balance how often can I enter burst mode? How often do I have to leave it? The problem is that most new characters basically have what Anton already has. They have their own version of burst mode, except they aren't completely gutted when they exit it. Or they can enter their burst mode so much more easily, because Anton needs energy to enter it. So when you run out of energy, you have to wait to build it up again. It's very annoying. Mindscape 1, here's some more energy. Oh, thank you. That is actually something he needs. But his drill attacks already drain so much of his energy, so this doesn't help you out that much. I'm not talking about his additional because it doesn't matter for his teams anyway. His EX gives him a shield. This is also not important for anything. At no point did an Anton player say, oh wow, a shield? That's exactly what I needed. Mindscape 4, he does increase everyone's crit rate. This is kind of interesting. It's a team buff, but most of the teams he's in, they don't care about this unless you're playing like Dial-In or Norma, because then their crit rate does matter. And then Mindscape 6 just says, here's more damage. Perfect, wonderful. Yes, Anton is literally a burst character. The problem is that Anton is a pretty good burst character who, when he's not in his burst mode, is not good at all. That's why Anton's not very good. Now, I've talked about these 3 attackers back to back. Let me show you a character everyone has on their account. If you've played the game at all within the past month, you know this guy. This guy is called Pyroas. He's a character that was given to everybody for free. He is substantially better than every character we will talk about today. Every DPS, I should say. Even in the Selector thing that I showed. Like, was she better than... Yes, Pyroas is better than these 2. And better than Jane, relatively speaking. That's why this Selector doesn't matter. It's like, which DPS should I get? You already have a better DPS than both of them. It doesn't matter who you pick. This is why it's hard to actively recommend the DPSs you see in the rest of this video. It's not because they are bad, it's just because Pyroas is so much better than them without having to put in as much effort as them. So if you're a brand new player, Pyroas is much easier and forgiving to play. But I promise you, if you take the time and efforts to actually play the A-ranked DPSs, you will become a better player, period. That is one of the best ways to improve at the game, is actually take the time to play these DPSs in this list that we will talk about. Now, if you don't want to do that, totally fine. But if you're like, oh man, how can I improve at the game? Play any of these characters. You will be forced to improve, period. Speak about improving. Let's talk about Ben. This is Ben. He's bigger than the bunch. You know him well. He's a fire defense agent. Oh, so he's a support? Not really. You would think he's a support because he's in the defense class, but he's not. And the reason is kind of confusing. His core says my defense increases my attack. Like, okay, that's a DPS thing. His additional says, I buff the team whenever we're shielded. It's like, okay, that's a support thing. His Mindscape 1 says, I reduce enemies' damage when I block it with my special or EX. Okay, that's a support thing. Mindscape 2 says, my blocks deal more damage. It's like, okay, that's a DPS thing. Mindscape 4 says, oh yeah, my blocks now also deal more damage. Okay, that's another DPS thing. And then Mindscape 6 says, my moves get more days. Okay, I guess that's a support thing. So you notice the problem. Ben's kit is split between supporting the team and dealing damage, but his kit is not fleshed out enough for either of those to be really good. So yeah, that's kind of an issue. There are teams you can use with Ben. Ben is still usable as a DPS, but he's not really good as a support because we just went over one of the best supports in the game, Nicole. Nicole is substantially better than anything you could get with Ben. Now, the good thing about Ben is that because his Mindscape 6 is kind of not really relevant, it's more days, but like that's not what Ben was wanting anyway. So if you don't have his Mindscape 6, you're totally fine. You can just stop at Mindscape 5. If you're pulling for multiple copies of these characters, you'll probably want to know which Mindscape is a good stopping point for them. Ambi's Mindscapes are all not good, so you don't have to worry about them. Nicole, her best Mindscape is pretty much all of them are pretty good. So you can keep going until Mindscape 6 if you want, because that's a crit rate buff. And most agents don't actually have crit rate buffs in their kits. Nicole's one of the only ones who does it, besides Ben, of course. Corrin's Mindscapes all basically say, improve my damage output, and she's a DPS, so that's fine. Billy's all say, improve my damage output, and he's a DPS, so that's fine. Anton's, I would say they all say improve his damage, but half of them don't. One of them just gives him a shield, which he never wanted, so I guess you can use that. Ben, as I said, you can probably stop at Mindscape 5 because his Mindscape 6 does not really help him. It does increase his days, but Ben's problem is not that he needed more days. Ben's problem is that he needed either more ways to buff the team or more ways to buff his damage, and days is not one of those. Next is Sokaku. Sokaku is pretty good. She's an ice DPS who also buffs your attack, even outside of ice teams. If you're looking for a giant stat stick to buff your team, Sokaku's here! Sokaku is kind of clunky to play. She will take much more time and effort to play than most of the other supports we have. That is one issue against her. It is not intuitive how to play this character. You are going to have to ask players how to do things or watch guides. Now, the great thing about Sokaku is that as a support, her Mindscape 4 is the only one that actually buffs the team. You can stop at Mindscape 4 and she is doing everything she wants as a support. Her core is her attack buff to the team, and her additional is her damage buff to the team. It is ice damage, but that doesn't mean you can't use her outside of ice teams. You can just use her on any team if you just want. 1000 attack, period. End of story. Her Mindscape 1 extends the time of her buff. It's pretty good because her buff is kind of short, so her Mindscape 1 is kind of convenient for that. Mindscape 4 increases the ice resistance you give to enemies when you hit her with her Fly the Flag. So that buffs the team. The problem is her Mindscape 2 and 6. You read them and you think, wow, She gets more stacks of her vortex. Remember, she's an ice agent. That's why she has vortexes, not a wind agent. She was the first wind agent in the game, and then they changed her to be an ice agent. It's like, okay, when I use any of these moves, I get more vortexes. Like, yeah, the times I would be using these moves are when I'm on the field and actively hitting things. So you think this is a support thing? It's not. It's a DPS thing. Okay, kind of weird. And Mindscape 6 says, whenever you use your Frosted Banner states, increase the number of enhanced basics you have up to 12, and you also deal more damage. This is weird because it does bring out the question of, is Sokaku DPS good? I would say Sokaku DPS was always better than Launch Ellen. You can play Launch Ellen right now. Launch Ellen is awful and terrible. She can't do things. You can still play Sokaku DPS. It's not as good, but you can still play it. What's great about Sokaku is that all this stuff is buffs for like an attack type team, but you can still use her outside of attack teams. You can use her in rupture teams. You can use her in anomaly teams. In fact, you can just use her as the anomaly character in an anomaly team. Just give her an anomaly set and you have her do a bunch of ice buildup on enemies. She is incredibly budget Promia if you squint hard enough. That's kind of interesting. Again, however, Sokaku's issues is that she takes more time and effort to use well. She is more active on field and her EX does not make her invincible. You will get hit during it, so you have to be careful not to die. Again, experiment with the character. Figure out how to use her. I know you can do it. A lot of players have gone before you. They put in the time and effort to do it. I know you can too. Next up is Lucy. Lucy's a weird one because Lucy's a pretty good support on paper, but the problem is in practice, being pretty good in this game is not good enough. Lucy's a fire support and she has 3 little boars that do stuff, but they don't do enough. That's why it's kind of weird. Lucy has a buff that gives you up to 600 attack on every character. For reference, Sokaku's was only to one other character. Lucy's is 600 to the whole team. Mindscape 1 gives her more energy. Mindscape 2 increases the duration of her buff. Mindscape 4 gives you 10 crit damage. That is not good. That's actually not good, period. If this said 30, that'd be different, but it says 10. 10 is incredibly low. This is not ever worth considering. Mindscape 6 is actually really interesting. Mindscape 6 basically turns Lucy into a weird pseudo support DPS that is reliant on agents who spend energy. This includes Bernice or Piper or Norma, characters who will just spend a ton of energy and her boars will come flying off screen and hit enemies repeatedly. It's very funny. It's very humorous. The problem is that this damage is not high enough normally on Lucy. That's because she can't usually get her attack and crit rate and crit damage high enough for this to be really good. Again, the problem with Lucy is that you read her core and it's like her core and additional are basically the exact same thing. Her guard boars inherit her attack, impact, and anomaly proficiency, crit rate, and crit damage. This is kind of weird because this is like Nicole said, here's 40% defense red. So Kaku's at least said, oh, here's some ice damage to the team. Lucy just said, oh yeah, my pigs do more damage. Like, what? I guess that's fine, but like, can you do something else, please? If you're just starting out and you're just trying to find a support, Lucy is very simple to play. You press EX and then you immediately switch. That is how you actively use the character. And you don't have to switch that often because you can just get her Mindscape 2. Her Mindscape 2 will also give the cheer on buff from her EX. So it's very simple and easy to use her. You can stop at Mindscape 2 and you are pretty much doing the same things. Mindscape 6 does increase your damage, but it increases your damage in a very weird way. It's an improvement, but it's not so much of an improvement that I would go out of my way to get it if I was a brand new player. I would rather have Nicole's Mindscape 6 because Nicole will actually increase everyone's damage and not just send one pig flying off screen. But out of all these A ranks, Lucy is the most interesting to talk about, and we will get back to that later. Next up is Seth. Seth is a weird agent because Seth is technically an anomaly support, but the way he supports anomaly agents is not really good. It is theoretically good, but practically speaking, the teams that want Seth are fundamentally non-existent. Seth kind of wishes he was in a hyper carry anomaly team, and hyper carry anomaly teams are not that good unless you have one other agent, actually 2 other agents. There was one agent who wants to be in a hyper carry anomaly team. That is called Arya. Arya wants to stun enemies really fast and dump a lot of her damage. Seth is theoretically good in that team, but Seth does not have his additional in that team, which kind of stinks because Seth's additional is really good. When his moves hit the enemy, the target's anomaly build-up resistance to all attributes is reduced by 20%. I think this is the only character in the game who actually does something like this. I don't think there's any other character who debuffs enemies' anomaly build-up like this. I know Grace has it in her Mindscape 2, but at Mindscape 0, I think Seth is the only one who can do this. So that's pretty good. But this says attribute or faction. No one in his faction really wants this. No one of the electric attribute really wants this. If Remiel were an electric agent, even then Seth wouldn't be good because Remiel only wants anomaly agents. His buff, his AP buff is 100. That's actually pretty high. That's a really high buff. The problem is that he can only give it to one agent at a time. If you're an attack team, that's not really an issue because attack teams normally only have 1 DPS. Problem is that anomaly teams usually have 2 DPSs because of how anomalies work. There are also guides for that if you want to learn how anomalies work. The problem is that Seth is only buffing 1 character at a time in a team where you want to have 2 characters doing stuff at the same time. That's kind of a problem. Now, there are teams, as I mentioned, there are teams where you can use Seth, but Seth will not have his additional in those teams. And that's really frustrating. Seth would be substantially better if they just changed this to anomaly. Get rid of faction and change it to anomaly. Seth would be so much better, but he's not. It's very unfortunate. Let's go over his Mindscapes. Mindscape 1 increases the shield you get. That's how he gives his buff. His buff comes with a shield. It's pretty good if you're in a, again, hypercarry anomaly was a thing when Jane released. And then people realized that, wait, hypercarry anomaly doesn't have any disorders, so it's not very good. And the teams that can do it, like Alice or Arya or Promea, the characters who can be by themselves and do fine, don't activate Seth's additional because there are no other good electric anomaly supports to get the attribute or the faction requirement. It's really frustrating because Seth is on the verge of being at least decent, but he's just not. Mindscape 2 increases his anomaly buildup on his charged basic. It's pretty good. Mindscape 4 increases his days on his defensive assists. That's kind of all right. You can actually probably stop at Mindscape 2 if you really want. Because Mindscape 4 is slightly more days, which is not like that good. It's not awful, but it's like only on one very specific move. Mindscape 6 turns him into a DPS. This is kind of like the Sokaku thing, except Sokaku is a better DPS than Seth because Sokaku still buffs the team and she does enough anomaly buildup on her own. Seth kind of doesn't. His moves aren't good enough. I would rather play DPS Sokaku than DPS Seth. And it's also a weird hybrid thing because it gives your charged basic will now deal a lot more damage and then automatically crit. So the question is, wait, do you turn him into a crit DPS who won't get as much value from the critical hit that's guaranteed, or do you turn him into an anomaly DPS that does allow him to crit and deal crit damage, but still be an anomaly teams who want to disorder stuff? That's why it's hard. Again, I would only recommend Mindscape 6 Seth if you enjoy playing the character. Play him for yourself. Try him out. He's fun. I promise you he's fun. Next we have Piper. Piper's an anomaly physical agent, and she's really good. She does a lot of physical anomaly buildup, and she's very simple to play. Another character who was also simple to play was Ambi. Ambi is simple to play and isn't good because her simple play style is not designed to work well with itself. She wants to daze enemies, but how her game plan works does not allow her to daze enemies well at all. Piper has a simple game plan. She wants to press EX and hold it as long as she can to do anomaly buildup. That's a great game plan because Piper can do that very easily. And because it's her EX, she's also invincible, so you don't even have to dodge out of it. If you just press EX on this character, you can just stay in that mode forever until you run out of energy, and you are functionally invincible. You're technically not invincible, but if you don't die, then it doesn't matter. Piper's core increases her anomaly buildup to an absurd degree. This number goes up to, right now, this is at 20 stacks. She gets stacks of power. I don't know why it's called power. And maybe it's like horsepower, but like that's not, I don't think it translated very well. And for each stack, you increase your anomaly buildup by 4%. So this goes up to 80% anomaly buildup. That's pretty strong. I wonder if it'll get buffed. Oh yes, it does get buffed. Mindscape 1, you get more power stacks. Honestly, Piper can stop at Mindscape 1 and she's really good. Actually, I take that back, no. Mindscape 2 is where it changes because the problem with Piper's EX and special is that she kind of slows down a lot when she uses them. Kind of makes sense. She's swinging around a giant like wheel axe. So Mindscape 2 says, oh yeah, you can get your speed back. Like, oh, well that's nice. Now you can actually move around and hit things. With Piper, you can stop at Mindscape 2 and she's still pretty good. She's doing everything she wants to do anyway. Mindscapes 3 and 5 increase your damage and your days. They do not change your anomaly buildup. That's why for anomaly agents, they don't matter as much. Now, Piper's days is still kind of relevant because assaults do increase your days output slightly. She does not benefit from it as much as a character like Corrin does. Also, the problem with Piper, she kind of uses up a lot of energy for her EX. So her Mindscape Force just says, oh yeah, by the way, here's more energy. Great. And then Mindscape 6 increases the duration of your power buff. It also means you can use your EX for longer. I don't think that one's as good. It's fine, but it's not the one you're needing. So overall, yeah, Piper's really good. If you've heard people talk about Piper, you've probably heard them talk about her in comparison to a character named Jane. Jane is also pretty good, but she's not that much better than Piper, which is really funny. There has been a long debate about whether or not Jane is better than Piper. The answer is that technically Jane is better than Piper, but she is not meaningfully better than Piper. Go to the game real quick. You will see the cost of an agent, if you just spent the lowest currency every single time, is about $400 at maximum for the guarantee. The question is, would you want to spend, we'll cut that in half. Do you want to spend $200 on a character who is slightly better than a character you can just get for free? Now, Jane is getting buffed. From what I've heard, the buff is not that good. Now we can officially say she is better than Piper, but she still has the issue of not being that much better. The reason Piper is important to talk about is because Remiel is coming out. If you don't have any anomaly agents, you're like, man, I need an anomaly agent for Remiel. Piper's here. She's free. She's really good. Just get her. And you don't need that many Mindscapes. If you only get 3 versions, because assuming you don't have Piper at all, she starts at Mindscape 0, so that's 1. Maybe, I would say a good stopping point for Piper is Mindscape 2, because that's pretty much all of what she needs is in here, and everything else after that is convenience buffs. It's a good convenience buff, but they don't fundamentally change how you play the character. Piper's really good. Now we're going on to another character, Pulchra. Pulchra is a weird character because she's another stun agent, and she's technically better than Ambi. The problem with Ambi is that in order for her to stun things, you have to play her. Pulchra is better than Ambi because you don't have to play her for her to stun things. She will stun enemies while being off field. By off field, I mean not being the active agent. Aftershocks is weird. She's an aftershock stunner. So she'll do some swish swish stuff to stun enemies. That's kind of nice. It's convenient, but her Mindscapes are not very good. Her core increases her days. That's normal. You're a stunner. Of course, you're going to increase your days. Her additional buffs the damage of aftershocks. And practically speaking, when in her teams, this binding trap thing will pretty much always be active. You do any of the moves that you're going to be using and you will have this buff. The problem is that her early Mindscapes don't help. So, oh, she's a support, right? Yeah, she is supposed to be a support helping the team. And then her Mindscapes 1 and 2 say, oh, did you mean increase my own crit rate? It's like, no, I didn't care about your crit rate, Pulchra. Buff the team, please. Oh, I got you. I'll increase my attack instead. No, increase my attack, Pulchra. Increase the DPS's attack, not yours. That's the problem. Pulchra, you read these 2 Mindscapes and you think, oh, so that means she's a DPS. No, she's not a DPS. She does not deal enough damage ever. Her damage multipliers are too small. Her Mindscape 4 makes her EX cheaper. That's a convenience thing, but that is nice. And then her Mindscape 6 buffs her additional. So that way it now buffs all damage types. So Mindscape 6 Pulchra is really good. But when she's not Mindscape 6, you can kind of just leave her at like Mindscape 0 and nothing really changes. Mindscapes 3 and 5 are important for her days output. That part's important. But other than that, if you don't have her at Mindscape 6 and you don't have her in an Aftershock team, then she's not really buffing your damage as much. But even then, she's still better than Ambi because you don't have to use this character for her to stun things. You just press EX or you press Ultimate. And there's more nuance to that. You have to hit enemies with a heavy attack. And if you're a new player, you're like, what the heck is a heavy attack? I'm not going to explain it here. Play the character in the training room. You will figure it out. It's not that hard. If you want to become better, that's the trick to it. If you are pulling for Sigrid and you have no other stunner, Pulchra's probably your best option, but only at Mindscape 6. Not only at Mindscape 6, but like if you want her to give her damage buff to the team, she kind of needs to be Mindscape 6 because Sigrid does not have Aftershocks. Now, if you have normally, then yeah, again, it's like kind of like whatever. But even then, you can use Pulchra on pretty much any attack or rupture team. She's good enough. The biggest problem with Pulchra is that she has an evasive assist, and the game for some reason hates evasive assist because they're actually good. They give control to the player, and the game doesn't like giving control to the player during those moments, so that's why they don't like agents having them. Next is Pan. Pan's a weird character to talk about because Pan is a good support, but he's a good support for 5 characters, and outside of that, he is awful. What Pan gives is that he gives sheer force. If you're a new player, you're probably thinking, what the heck is sheer force? I'm glad you asked. It's a buff that is only applied to rupture agents. There are only 5 of those agents in the game. That's why it's kind of weird. He also heals you if you use your ultimate. That's convenient. His core says his sheer force is equal to 18% of his attack. It caps out at 540. Now, granted, I've been talking about these cores. Your cores do need to be at core F to get the maximum value, but these are maximum values. Like if you have him at core E, he's still giving the buff. That's still fine. And then his additional says he gives a damage buff. So that's pretty good. But again, it's only good for 5 very specific agents. Outside of that, he's not doing anything. Mindscape 1 increases his additional by 10%, so that's actually kind of good. Mindscape 2 gives him more energy, so that way he can use his EX more, which is how he gives his buff. It also increases the duration of his buff, I think. It increases the duration of his debuff. Mindscape 4 increases his HP recovery, which is kind of weird. It's technically a buff, but like not really. In most modes, this is not going to be the make or break Mindscape. The make or break Mindscape is Mindscape 6, because it increases his additional from 540 to 720. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot. Like 540 to 720, that's like what, 180? 180 sheer force, that doesn't sound like a lot. For Rupture agents, it kind of is. 1 sheer force is equal to 10 HP. So 180 sheer force is equal to 1,800 HP. That's a pretty decent increase. If for some reason you're looking for a Rupture support, Pan is here. Pan is pretty good. The problem is that we don't have a Rupture agent anytime soon. So maybe Claret or Roxy will be a Rupture agent, and then Pan will be a character worth considering. Or if you want to play Monato, which is what we're going to talk about next. This is Komono Monato. This guy was the last A rank they released in version 2.3. Monato is pretty good. Still not better than Pyroas, but he's pretty good. Monato is a counter DPS, but unlike Ben, he actually has Mindscapes to justify it. He holds special and he enters the Molten Edge state. It's basically Anton's burst mode, except he can actually re-enter it very easily, and it doesn't cost energy. By energy, I mean adrenaline, because Rupture agents are different for no real good reason. His core just says, here's a bunch of damage. Fantastic. We love to see it. His additional increases his HP restoration, so that way he doesn't die. Mindscape 1 increases his damage. Again, he's a DPS, so all of his Mindscapes will say something about increasing his damage in some way, shape, or form. Mindscape 1 increases his fire damage of some moves. Mindscape 2 increases his fire damage. So Mindscape 2 is a better debuff, or I should say it's a better buff than his Mindscape 1, but they're all pretty good. They're all decent. Again, Mindscapes 3 and 5 are more important because he's a DPS. More damage is more damage. Mindscape 4 increases his max HP, which does increase his sheer force, I believe. I forgot how this works. I don't know if it happens in combat or before combat. Anyway, it shouldn't be too important. It's going to make sure that he doesn't die. He has more HP and he doesn't die, so he'll deal more damage. Fantastic. Mindscape 6. This is a real deal breaker. Mindscape 6 allows Monato to do something really interesting. It allows him to use his assist follow-up on enemies who are stunned, and that's kind of good. Mindscape 2 allowed him to use his special to counter enemies and go into his assist follow-up. It's effectively the same thing in his Mindscape 6. So Monato is pretty good as a DPS. The problem with Monato, the biggest problem with Monato is that to use his special is what charges him up, and it's also the move you use to counter things when you have his Mindscape 2. The problem is that Monato's basics cannot be canceled by his special. If you press special while he's doing a basic, you will get nothing. You will keep using your basic. To do it, you need to press dodge and then press special, or you have to wait until your basic is over. So if you want to get really good with Monato, you're going to have to really learn and understand enemy attack patterns, and that's kind of hard for most players. The good thing is that you don't ever have to do that. Monato's basics are really cheap to use, as in his basics 2 and 4 are completely invincible, and they're pretty good damage on their own. So you don't have to be very good with Monato to get his ideal damage output. Decent damage output, I should say. He is a very forgiving agent to use. Is he better than Pyroas? No. The other issue with Monato is that Monato is a really good Rupture DPS. Right now, there are no real fights for Rupture DPSs. The ones that exist are fake, because the only 2 real Rupture bites, I combined bosses and fights. The only 2 real Rupture fights are not in the game right now. Wandering Hunter is not going to be around for a while, I don't think, unless he appears in 3.2. And Hator. Hator is a Shiyu defense enemy who has not been around for a while. So I don't recall if he's going to be in version 3.2. He might be in 3.1, I don't remember. Avarice has normal defense, so that's not a Rupture boss. Nope, and nope. Okay, so there's no Rupture boss. Another part of Monato's game plan is that because his buttons are so committal, he has extended animations that he's kind of stuck in, and his range is not very good. So there are times when you will use your assist follow-up, and then you will just start hitting at nothing because the enemy decided to move away. And that's unfortunate. However, Monato can build teams that work around this, and Monato does enough damage on his own, so it's not a huge negative factor. It is an annoying factor, it's tedious, but you can improve your skills so it becomes not much of an issue. I promise you, playing these A ranks will make you a better player, period. The best thing about Monato is that Monato was released during a time in the game where there were no other Rupture agents. Yishun was technically a Rupture agent, but she was the only one in the game, and she's basically just a crit DPS. When Monato released is when they actually made a Rupture boss. Monato was also designed to demolish that Rupture boss. So Monato is really good in that context. The problem is that context does not really exist anymore because there are no Rupture bosses. And the ones that do exist are fake. It's like, oh, here's a regular boss and we'll just give a buff to Rupture agents in this weird, very specific buff. It's like, yeah, I guess you can do that, but that's still not a Rupture boss. If I were to start a brand new account right now, start from scratch, which of these agents would I pick on the A rank selector? For me personally, I would pick Billy because I'm a Billy main. Of course I'd pick Billy. That shouldn't be a surprise. Pick who you like to play. Again, if you're looking for a specific DPS, none of these DPSs are better than the one you get for free, and his name is Pyroas. Use Pyroas. Pyroas is good. If you want to have fun playing the game, pick any of these characters. It's fine. Now, if you're wanting a support, again, the supports they're releasing are better, but the best supports are probably Nicole and probably Piper for anomaly teams. Piper's a support, yes. Piper is functionally a support for anomaly teams. She's vastly improving your anomaly / disorder damage or whatever. Depends on what agents you have, of course. And then maybe Pulchra if you can get her to Mindscape 6. If you're looking for a Rupture agent, maybe you pick Pan. If you're looking for an Ice buffer, maybe you pick Sokaku, right? Like, you just kind of mix and match whichever agent you feel like. It's perfectly fine. The only wrong choice is the ignorant choice. The choice where I don't know who to pick, so I'll just pick a random thing. Like, you probably shouldn't do that. Pick who you like, do some reading. Look up some guides. Ask a couple questions to people like, hey, is Sokaku good? It's like, well, what do you mean by good? It's like, okay, be more specific. Is Sokaku a good support for her teams? The answer is, yeah, she's all right. If you're looking for specific mindscapes on characters, some of them are more make or break than others. Monato's Mindscape 2 is pretty good. Pan's Mindscape 6 is important, but not game-breaking. Like, he doesn't change how he plays, it just improves his damage buffs. Pulchra's Mindscape 6 also improves her damage buffs. It actually improves it so you can actually have a damage buff to the team. Piper, you can stop around Mindscape 2 if you feel like it. Seth is weird. None of his Mindscapes are that good, so like maybe you can stop at Mindscape 2, and that's fine. Lucy's also another weird case where it's like, maybe you can stop at Mindscape 2 because that means her Chiron buff is on more of her moves. So Kaku, you can stop at Mindscape 4 unless you want her to be a DPS. Then you go to Mindscape 6. Most of these characters, like Seth and Ben and maybe Lucy. Seth and Ben, if you want them to be a DPS, I guess you can go for Mindscape 6. Seth is not a very good DPS. Ben is probably better, but only because he has better synergy with agents of his attributes. Anton, none of his Mindscapes are very good outside of Mindscape 6. Billy, his most important one is his Mindscape 2 as well, but his Mindscape 6 does buff his damage, as does everybody's. Ambi's Mindscape 6 buffs her damage, but her damage is not very good anyway. So you don't have to get any of her Mindscapes. They will not meaningfully change how you play this character. Nicole's Mindscapes are all pretty good. They all do something to increase the effectiveness of her buffs. So I think out of all these characters, for a DPS, Monato has the best Mindscapes. For support, Nicole has the best Mindscapes. And there's Corrin, of course, her Mindscapes increase her damage. And now I will talk a bit more about A ranks in general, because I think this is the most important talking point is, what is the future of A ranks going to look like? Because the game has basically said, yeah, pick whoever you want. That's usually not a very good sign. The reason we got Monato is because they actually wanted players to have something to do when Lucia was released. It's like, well, what the heck? If you don't have Yi Xuan, then Lucia is just a terrible agent. So they decided, you know what? We need to release a character who does something with this class, because otherwise these other characters don't really do anything. That's why we got Monato. They also designed him so he is really good against the boss they also released in his patch. So Monato is a great A rank. He helped players access a new class. He helped justify pulling for a character that they were releasing. The problem is that the way they're doing it now is that, well, you can just pick whoever you want, which kind of tells me that they aren't going to release another A rank for a while. And I don't like that, because they released a new attribute called Wind. Right now, Valina is holding the Wind attribute hostage. And until they release more Wind agents or give them out, if your account does not have Valina, then you cannot do anything with Wind. There is no option. Maybe if you fight the boss Scorched Horizon, like, ooh, yeah, sure, that boss does do stuff with Wind, but like, that's it. That's one fight. If Zenless wants to be good to players, they will make an A rank that is a Wind agent. Now, the problem is everyone says nobody wants their favorite agent to be an A rank. I understand the reasons why. I have to disagree with them. If A ranks are good, that only makes things better for everybody. The reason why people say Monato is really good is because, one, Monato as an agent in combat, Monato is really good. In his story, Monato is one of the most fleshed out characters in the cast. Period. Monato is one of the characters you spend the most time with compared to any other character. So when he was announced as an A rank, many people were upset because that means he'll be bad. Like, no, dude, Monato being free, I think is great for a ton of players. That means any new player can re-experience the story of season 2. They can go through Monato's story and they can just get him for free. Like, they don't have to wait 6 more months to wait for a rerun for Monato. They can just get him whenever they want. That's great. That's awesome. Does that mean Monato is weaker? Yes, it means he is weaker than other Rupture agents. So instead of spending all your money on Monato, now you'll spend money on the support you'll use with Monato, like Lucia or Norma. That's totally fine. Anyway, back to the A rank conversation. It's a bit concerning if Zenless does not release more A ranks. Now, granted, if they just release S ranks and call it a day, that's fine. We got Pyroas for free. We got Zhao for free. We got Harumasa for free. That was 2.5 years ago though, so that doesn't really count. So the A rank conversation is how do I phrase this? It's not really an issue if instead of just giving us A ranks, they just give us free S ranks, practically taking the place of here's a free A rank. The problem is like, how do I phrase this? The time and effort to create an A rank also means that the game is not like getting money off of it. As I mentioned, you don't have to pay money to get Monato. You can get him for free or relatively free. And that means the devs aren't really making a lot of money by making and designing this guy as an agent, which begs the question, like, why would the game go out of its way to do something that won't make it more money? That's when you have to say, hey, maybe the devs want to improve the overall quality of their game instead of the funds they are getting. Monato is free and the game is better from it. Pan was relatively free and the game was better because of it. Now we know we are going to get another wind agent soon because Sigrid and Pyroas both have stuff to do with contamination. Contamination is the debuff you get after you apply wind to an enemy. So we will get one soon. I don't know when. If the game is nice and kind to players, they will give us a wind agent of some sort, whether it be any of these classes, it doesn't really matter. As long as they are a character who can do stuff with wind and in some way, shape, or form provide some buff to the team doing it, that would be nice. That would be gracious to players. That would make the game better by letting players who didn't pull for Verlina have something to do with an attribute that they just released. I don't know how to end this video. I totally forgot the other part of this video. It completely blanked out of my mind. I forgot there's a second part. If you want any of these A ranks, Lucy is getting an outfit, a new summer skin, and that's going to be for free if you do the event in 3.1. So if you want Lucy to look pretty in pink, pick Lucy. Next up is W engines. As part of the A rank selector, that also includes which W engines you can get. I heard a couple people maybe talking about which A ranks to get. I never heard anybody talking about which W engines to get. The thing to note is that all the W engines are kind of designed for only that character. There are a couple A rank W engines that are not really worth discussing. Like Ambi's. Ambi's is designed to be good on her, but it's not because the way it's designed is just not good enough. You can switch this out with anything. It does not really help Ambi in any way, shape, or form. So don't worry about it. The Vault is designed to be good with Nicole. It's pretty good. Throw it on Nicole. It's fine. Housekeeper is designed to be good with Corrin. It's not that good with Corrin, because the active buff increases your energy regen, which is okay, but she'd rather have other W engines that actually increase her base attack, you know? Not base attack, but just increase her damage output. Energy regen is nice when you have it in your kit and you can kind of get it for free, but when you have it in a W engine for a DPS that doesn't really scale off of energy regen, it does not help that much. Billy's increases his physical damage. It's pretty good. Use it only on Billy, and unless you're crazy, you can throw it on Yishun Guang, because you can attack from far away, and that does activate the 6 meters away thing to do this. It's really dumb. You can do it. I don't recommend it. Drill rig. This is Anton's. Anton's drill rig is not good on Anton. If you watch my video, it does buff the electric damage on his dash attack. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. If you know, you know. This is a free-to-play option for a couple electric agents. It is not a good option on Anton, unless you are desperate and have literally nothing else to equip to him. It does help him stay in his burst mode more frequently. That is true, but it does not improve his damage enough to justify it, which is very sad. Drake, where's the dash attack? It's right here. I see the problem. Oh, do ya? That says physical. Where's the electric dash attack? It's not here. This is a dodge counter. That's not a dash attack. Those are different moves. This is Big Cylinder. It's a W engine for Ben. It reduces the damage he takes, just kind of like supportish if you squint hard enough. And then usually after a counter, because it says after being attacked, so that's normally when you counter things with your special or EX, it gives you a critical hit based on your defense. That's interesting. Unfortunately, if you're playing DPS Ben, this thing is not really what you use. If you're playing DPS Ben, you're probably using Pan's W engine because it's just kind of better. And we'll get to it when we get to it. This is Sokaku's W engine. It increases her ice damage, which is kind of relevant because Sokaku's ice damage is actually pretty useful for her teams. And when you use an EX, it increases everyone's attack by 2%. Stacking up to 4 times. Wait, no, it's not 2%. Sorry. This is at rank 0. When it's at rank 5, this is increased to 3.2%. I forgot. Clicking on it. I don't think I need to click on it for all of them because you can do that in the game yourself. So just going forward, these are the numbers for only rank 1 W engines. They will increase at rank 5. So Kaku's is pretty good on agents who can use their EX frequently enough to stack. So you can use this on a couple other supports, but this is Lucy's Kaboom the Cannon. Lucy's Kaboom the Cannon is the best A-rank W engine by far. They made this too good. It says, when any friendly unit in the squad attacks and hits an enemy, you buff the team's attack by this amount up to 4 times. Each friendly unit only applies 1 stack, and they're calculated separately, but it means that all of your units, everyone in the team counts as 1 friendly unit, okay? Some Bangbu also counts as friendly units. There's like a weird list of Bangbu that don't count for their attacks. I'm pretty sure all of them, most of them do. So you don't have to think too much about that. It also includes whatever weird summons. So for instance, Lucy's boars count as friendly units. Yuzuha's Kama also counts as a friendly unit. But I don't think Rina's puppets count as friendly units because they're technically not separate from her. I don't think. That's off the top of my head. I can't remember exactly. But that's fine. Even in a team where you don't have another friendly unit, this is still one of the best support W engines in the game by far. Because all you have to do is hit the enemy, and then you have an attack buff. That's really simple. Unlike Sokaku needs an EX to give it a buff, and you need to do this multiple times. Lucy is just, if anybody hits the boss, then you get an attack buff. It's very simple, it's very easy. They made a mistake making this. If you're choosing any W engine on the W engine selector, Lucy's is by far the best one you could probably choose for an entire class. Because like, yeah, Ben's might be decent on Ben, and nobody else wants it. Lucy's is decent on Lucy, and pretty much every support can use this. That's why it's the one you're probably picking. Please, please, please get Kaboom the Cannon. Please prioritize Kaboom the Cannon. It's really good. It's really, really, really good. This is Seth. It's called Peacekeeper. It does stuff for Seth. It increases his anomaly buildup and energy regen. That's fine enough. This is Piper's. It's designed to work well with Piper and only well with Piper. It's fine enough. If you're getting Piper, go for a Roaring Ride if you want. If you don't have Roaring Ride, you can use Weeping Gemini. Weeping Gemini is the always available A-rank one that is fundamentally also increasing your damage. It's fine. They're all kind of good. This is Polkar's Box Cutter. It's not very good because it increases her damage. Ooh, because we love Polkar's damage. Polkar's damage does so much for the team. It doesn't. Polkar's damage doesn't matter, which is why it's kind of an issue. In the beta, Polkra and Trigger did have more damage, and then they nerfed it. They realized that, wait, maybe having an off-field stunner dealing this amount of damage is probably too good. Now they're right, but like, they didn't have to do it. Claire is correct. Lucia is probably the only agent who does not want Kaboom the Cannon. But if you are desperate enough, Kaboom the Cannon does still increase your sheer force because some amount of attack is always converted into sheer force. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Don't quote me on that. But I know attack buffers do also increase your sheer force by some amount. I think it's 1000 attack equals 300 sheer force. That's off the top of my head. So this amount of in-combat attack, I think it does increase your sheer force by some amount. So you can use it if you're desperate. Now, it's not better than Rina's Weeping Cradle, but Rina's Weeping Cradle. Rina's Weeping Cradle is better on Lucia, but that can be hard to obtain because that's a standard W engine, so you might not get lucky enough to get it. You'd either have to pay for it in the shop, which is pretty good. It's a pretty good idea. It's a W engine you only need to get one of, and it's pretty good on a couple agents. This is Pan's W engine. Pan's W engine increases your attack and increases your EX and ultimate damage. This is why it's better on Ben than Ben's own W engine. Again, it's weird if you don't play Ben. The short version is that Ben scales better with attack percent than he does with defense percent. I know that sounds wrong. I promise you that is the case. And also when other members take damage or recover HP, Pan gets more energy. This means that if you put him with a rupture agent who's constantly changing their HP, then that means he's getting more and more energy. This is why this one's pretty good on Pan. This is Monoto's W engine. Monoto's W engine Monato's W engine is actually pretty good. Let me do this. Mumble rapper over here. Monato's W engine is called Grillo Wisp. It increases his damage and his crit rate. That's pretty good. The equipper HP needs to decrease to get this crit rate. Monato can do that very easily. Idhari can do this very easily. Starlight Billy can also do this, but he doesn't really do it during stun, so this is not that good on Starlight Billy, but if you squint hard enough, you can get more crit rate on those characters. That's why it's pretty good. The fire damage you're missing out is not as important. The crit rate is the one that's really important. That's why if you want, you can just throw this on Idhari, and that's fine. So at the end of the day, if you're pulling for any A rank, you might want to include their W engine. You don't have to, but you can, especially if you're pulling Pan or Monato or Seth, Piper. Please, 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 pull for Kaboom the Cannon. I normally don't tell you what to do. I say play the game yourself, figure it out, learn the process, understand the game. I will tell you this. This is the best thing you could possibly do. Pull Kaboom the Cannon. Now that's the end of the video. And yeah, that's it for this video. Subscribe if you feel like it. You don't have to. I will be playing 3.1 on stream eventually. If you like what you see, you want to support this, leave a comment or share it around. That's all you need. If you want to go above and beyond that, you can donate by becoming a sponsor or by just giving a super thanks in the comments. I greatly appreciate all my sponsors. That's the outro for the video. You got a shirt, Manev. Awesome. That's great. I also have shirts. I got merch that looks cool. Proximity. I hope y'all like it. Shoutouts to my super sponsors, Caligula 138, I Love My PC, I'm Peth, Jam Jalopy, Superbro64, and Tactail Like. Thank y'all so much. My name's Yojimbo Blade, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. See you soon.